What's going on YouTube? Florida Man Knives here with a really quick video on knives you shouldn't hand people. Now, 100% of the credit goes to Lugermonger with his video that he posted several years ago. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's called Knives You Don't Hand to People. And then Metal Complex has also posted a video on this, which is very good. So go check their videos out. They're going to be far better than any video I could ever make. But let's get into it. The first knives you shouldn't hand people are going to be Balisongs, live blade Balisongs, of course. Right here, I've got a Boker. But you know, the main reason is going to be the closing of the knife. They're not really going to know necessarily which handle to grab. Maybe they'll try and flip it and close it with the live blade on their hand and really hurt themselves. Just not smart to hand that over to anyone that's not familiar with Balisongs. Same thing goes for any sort of gravity knife. You know, this one right here just happens to be a cold steel triple action. But you see, you know, maybe it's a gravity knife. They're not going to be familiar with it. They might close it on their hands. Definitely you don't want to risk that. And same thing goes for any knife that's going to have a double-edged blade. This triple action just happens to be both a gravity knife and double-edged blade. So, you know, principle applies. You go to maybe try and close it like you would a typical knife. You're going to cut yourself. Or if you go to maybe press down on the spine of the knife, you know, again, a non-knife person might not notice that and definitely could cut themselves. Same thing applies for any sort of auto, really, in general. You know, it's really simple. Yeah, you just press a button to open it, but maybe they don't fly out of their hands. You know, they're not used to it. It's got a lot of kick. Additionally, closing the knife, maybe they're not going to be used to how to close it. Maybe they'll try and, you know, just struggle with it and end up cutting themselves. Same thing is applicable for an OTF. You know, yeah, really easy to a knife person to use, but again, they might break it or, you know, just do something to harm themselves. They're not going to be familiar with it. And I think the same concept applies for any sort of flipper tab knife. You know, to a knife person, this might seem really simple, but again, might slip out of your hand when you're going to open it and trying to close it. Maybe they're not going to be a little bit confused. This one's a frame lock that could be applied as well. You know, closing a frame lock, they might drop the knives on their fingers. Definitely not ideal. You know, some knives that are going to be more in between are going to be anything with more of a funky locking mechanism, something like an axis lock on a Benchmade or a ball bearing lock on a Spyderco. You know, they might see it and be like, okay, I can figure out how that might close. You know, definitely not as good of a chance that they're going to hurt themselves as they would with these knives. You know, maybe a compression lock could be in that same category. You know, the knives that you do want to hand to people are going to be any sort of traditional lockback. Of course, this is the knife that I bring anywhere when you know, I'm kind of worried that someone might have something to say about a knife, or, you know, if I know someone's going to be maybe asking for one, you know, I'll hand them this. Everyone knows how to open and close a lockback. Same thing goes for any traditional folders. This one's got the nail nick, of course, an old timer. Same thing for Victorinox, you know, classic Swiss Army knife. Everybody knows you just open and close those. Very simple. And then the last knife right here is going to be the Spyderco Meerkat. I like to consider this a knife you both should and should not hand to people, just because it's really fun to watch them struggle with it. You know, you open the knife up, and if you're not familiar, you actually push this scale right here to close it. So, you know, I categorize this as both because they might hurt themselves trying to find out or figure out how to close it, but at the same time, it's really fun to watch them struggle. So anyways, just something fun at the end there, but thanks for watching.